there's like a little cloud with a red dot. We are recording today, so anything that you say into the chat will go into that recording. If you do speak, it's going to go into the recording. Just be aware of that. We're going to make it available on YouTube as a resource for you or for other folks to use that aren't able to attend the webinar today. So you will receive a recording and it'll be made publicly available. So in the Zoom webinar platform, it's a little bit different than the meetings. So you might see it looks different. You're only going to see the panelists, the three of us on video, and you're going to have less controls than in the meeting. So one thing that is really different that I want to highlight is there's this Q&A, question and answer tool that we're going to be using today to answer your questions that you have. So on the bottom bar, you'll see Q&A. You can type questions into that. The other participants will be able to see your questions and they'll be able to upvote. Because, let's see, now we're at 110 people in the webinar. We have a lot of people today, so we might not be able to get to all the questions, but when we start seeing questions come in, you can go in and you can do a little thumbs up, or you can upvote the questions you want to hear answered, and that'll help us prioritize so that when Sue has time where she's going to take questions, we can make sure that she's addressing the questions that most people want answered. So put your questions into the Q&A and also, check there, do the upvotes, thumbs up, the things you want to hear answered. Depending on how the timing goes, we might also have some time where we ask for you guys to volunteer to share something with us through your microphone. So if you'd like to do that, you can use the raise hand function, little button with the hand, and that'll let us know that you would like to have permission to speak, and we can unmute you and you'll be able to talk to everybody. And kind of the last rule, it's not so much about Zoom, it's just a general best practice, is to avoid distractions. We're here for 2 hours, turn away from your email, put your phone on silent, put it away. It's really gonna help you to get the most out of this session. So I believe we're gonna have a short little bio break around the middle as well. Just let you guys know 2 hours is a little bit of time, but we have a lot to cover today and a lot of good information. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And Sue, while you're pulling up your presentation, I'm just gonna say thank you so much for doing the webinar today. This is a topic that I've had some people request workshops on, and Sue was generous enough to offer to do this for both the audience that she serves in Maine and also for the Florida audiences that I work with. So thank you so much, Sue. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, well, thanks for having me. The things that I'm going to be presenting today, I just learned within the last year. And so it's going to be really interesting to show you how they integrate into each other. But this first screen, let's see, oh, yeah, here we go. Okay. We just want to make sure that everyone knows we have quite a diverse group of people, and we want to make sure that everyone knows about the National Estuarine Research Reserve System. There's 29 of us around the country, which is the national part. You can see on the map, this is a mapping seminar, so we just want to make sure you understand where Rookery Bay is and Wells Reserve is. And it's an Estuarine Research Reserve System. So these 29 reserves represent estuaries all over the country. And along with research, we also have stewardship and education. And those are vital components of our reserve system. And there's links. I know they don't show up very well, but there's links to the Wells Reserve, Rookery Bay, and the reserve system in general. So the National Estuarine Research Reserve page. So if you're interested in any of those, when you get the PDF that will be sent out soon afterwards, you'll get links to all of these. So these are the 3 tools that we're going to be working with today. And you can see how one plays into the other, which then plays into the third one. And we're going to start off with Survey 123. So Survey 123 is an excellent tool to easily get ground data for your ArcGIS online map or any other map that you're creating. And then your online map uses that survey data along with any other geographic information that you want to share through this map. And it feeds into the story map, which along with the ArcGIS map brings in narrative, photos, links, and graphics and charts. And then you use that story map for education, fundraising, calls to action, any other kind of project. So all storytelling is about changing behavior. So we're using these dynamic tools to change behavior through education, if you want them to help fundraise, if you want them to do something, and any other way that you can think to use it. So this is a case study of a project that we've been doing with the Hope Cemetery in Kennebunk, Maine. And I just want to run through it quickly so that you have an idea how all of these things hook together. So let's see if we pull this up. Okay, actually, here it is right here. So this is a story map, and it's a very simple story map. And all it does, it has a big arrow down the bottom so you know to scroll down. It has a static map of the boundary because we don't want people get confused scrolling in and out when it just has to show the boundary. And then it talks about, so this gives us a general overview of where the project is relative to the town of Kennebunk. And it also talks about how before we had Survey 123, how we actually had to go out with notebooks and pencils and record the information for this project. So it just gives some more information about interns that we used. And then we come to an active map. So the user can scroll around the map and it shows the dots of the tombstones that we took the information for. And when you click on one of these, it gives you all the information that was collected. The names, the notes, the years of death, whether or not they were a veteran. And then when you click on more information, it actually brings you to a photograph of the tombstone so that you can have an idea of what that looks like. Oh, let's see, we'll go back here. And then this is a different part of the project that we worked on digitizing the paper maps of all of the plots. So that first area was just this old historic part, but there's 2,000 plots within the cemetery, and we've been working on making it a searchable map so that people can find the relatives. That's the ultimate goal. So we have three active maps, and 2 active maps and a static map. And the whole reason that we're doing this is because data is being lost on these stories are being lost. And so we talk about symbology in this project, all kinds of different symbology, but this is just to showcase how a story map delivers information. And then this last panel, there's an Explorer right here that will actually take you live to the Hope Cemetery Woods. Inside of your story map, take you to the Hope Cemetery Woods website so that you can get all the local information that you need. And when you stop exploring, then it just comes up with your credits. So that's basically how we integrate ground information, ArcGIS online mapping, and story maps all into one project. Okay, so I know that some of you have had problems with the developer account. I don't know what happened getting the developer account. I tried it the other day, it seemed to work, but I put in a new link to the developer account. And so if you've been having trouble with it, try this new link. The reason I had you do a developer account instead of a public account is that a public account is really limited, and a developer account almost acts like an enterprise level account, like a big organization, so that it gives you many more tools to actually be able to use Survey 123, for instance, because that is not available on a public account. So I learned about this in a training last year, and it really opened the door for lots of organizations that don't have enterprise accounts to be able to do their mapping as well. So this is the Survey 123 app, and I sent you a link to open up this survey on your phone or tablet, see what a survey looks like from the data collector perspective, and then go out and try it. So there's really 3 roles involved in a survey like this. The first role is the survey developer, who works with maybe the end user or the organization that it's for. The second one is the actual data gatherer, who might work for an organization or be a volunteer. So you want to keep that data gatherer in mind, because they're the ones that are in the field, in the heat, in the snow, whatever situation that they're in. So you want to make it as easy for them as possible. And then finally, there's the end user, the reason that this whole project is being produced. What is it that they need to know? And where is that balance between just enough and the whole kitchen sink, where you're not overwhelming them with information as well? So let's actually go into our survey 123. So now we're going to go into the back end of it. Okay, right here. So when you open survey 123 as with your developer license, you come into this setting. And if we look, this on the left-hand side is what we're actually producing for the data gatherers to use. So it has automatic date and time will automatically be put in. The location, if you zoom to it using this little zoom to button, it will record your latitude and longitude. And then it just asks some simple questions. These are all multiple choice questions. So these are all the elements that you can put into your survey 123. Each one does a different job, and each one can be edited, and you can change its appearance. So in a little while, we're gonna put up a screen with some directions on how to actually create a very simple survey 123. But we just want to go over what I sent out to you. So we have this multiple choice. So when they come to this question, there's a little pull down, and instead of having to type anything in, because it's very hard for gatherers, data gatherers to type in information in the field. If they're using their phone, it's very hard. If they have trouble seeing screens because of the sun, it's very hard. So you want to make it as easy as possible. They pull down, they pull this in, and you always put in other, because inevitably they're going to find something that they think should be included or that we forgot to include. So other is very good. And then you have the ability to take a picture, and that picture gets stored on the cloud and is associated with your survey data. And then you can have ratings or things like that. So that's how you create a survey, and we'll go into it in more detail in a minute. But this is how you collaborate with your people. You have a link that you can just send them. You can send them a QR code that comes up with it, so they can just take a photograph of the QR code and it'll take them to the survey. But the minute they get this link and they click on it, it will automatically open the app in their phone or tablet. Make sure it's to everyone or just members of a certain organization or the following groups. And so this is the real power behind the survey. What it does is it automatically takes your data and it starts to analyze it. So first it tells you, who went out when, how many people, things like that. And then it tells you the particulars, but then it actually breaks down the information that you gather. This is the what type of habitat are you in? You can see that most people were in the developed habitat. And then I think this actually gives you thumbnails of the photographs, and then the answer to the last question, which was a rating question. All right, let me just check in on my slides to see if I've jumped ahead too much. Okay, I have it. So, all right. The other thing, okay, so let's actually talk about survey creation. So let me go back to the overview. Oops, design, I'm sorry. So if we wanted to add another question to this, all we do is we click on one. So let's just say we wanted another, a single, oh, I don't know about that one. Okay. We're gonna do a multiple choice again. So here's our question. Over here, we want to label it. So we just label it, let's see, weather. So if weather was important for your particular thing, then you would just type in weather. You give it a little directions, report amount of clouds. Okay. And then you can give it a choice here, no clouds, partly cloudy, or overcast. And then when you hit save, so it modifies your question as you're typing. And then you hit save and it saves your project. And then that would now show up on everyone's survey. Okay, so let's go back to here. So basically we've gone through all of these tabs in the survey creation. We talked about the results and how it automatically starts graphing the results. You can just copy and paste these into your story map if that's useful information for you. And then to create a new survey, so if we're over here, and we go back to our survey 123. Oh, sorry about that. We go back to back one. And we go back to my survey. So you're in your account, you go back to my surveys. Here's the all of the surveys that I've created so far. And we just create a new survey. And this using survey 123 Connect, I have not tried out, but this is the one that I've been using, the getting started, and it takes us to that. You name the survey. You always have to put in some kind of tags because it wants it to be searchable, and you put in a summary. And then you come up with the screen that we just had. Okay. So when we go to break, we're going to put the screen up during the break, and it'll just walk you through how to create a survey if you want to try it then, or if you haven't got your account set up and everything like that, then you can always come back to this in the PDF and then move forward with it there. But before we move on, I just want to show you the amazing part that we're going to be working with ArcGIS Online. And so we're here in our MLTN was the main Land Trust Network internship that I taught a few weeks ago. Right here, when we come to data, excuse me, to data, it will actually show you all the dots. So when you all went out and took did one record for us, it automatically populated this ArcGIS online map. And it shows us where all the dots are. And then you can export this data for use in ArcGIS Desktop, ArcGIS Pro. You can open it in a map viewer so that you have more control over how this map will look. And it comes up with, so we zoom into our dots here. And when you click on one of these dots, it comes up with all of the information that was collected by the data gatherer. And it says, take a picture of this habitat. When we click on it, it comes up with the habitat that they collected. Okay, let's see where we are here.
Sue, while you're switching to something else, I want to ask, I saw a couple of people have asked with the survey 123, do you know if they have it on their mobile phone? They've downloaded that app for their phone.
Yeah.
Can they edit the surveys, or do you need to be on the web browser to do that?
What they can do is they can edit the responses to one record after before when you answer all the questions, you hit submit, and if you were in a Wi-Fi zone or if your phone has a data plan, it will automatically send the dot to the map. If you're out of a Wi-Fi zone, say you're doing an emergency area, a disaster area, and there's no Wi-Fi service, then it says upload later, and it collects all of the records until you get into Wi-Fi and say submit. So they can change their responses to anything that has not been submitted before it uploads. But once it uploads, it's a little more difficult to edit the data. It can be edited in the attribute table, but it makes it a little more difficult.
Okay, and so that's to submit a response to a survey, but like to create a survey, you'd want to do that on the web browser, not through the mobile app?
Yes, I don't think you can create them through the mobile app. I think the mobile app is just the data collector.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay, great question, great question. Okay, so now we're gonna actually talk about the map that it creates. So let's go back to our thing right here, and we say open in map viewer. And so I sent out a homework task to get you familiar with the ArcGIS online interface. And so let me just start out right here, because if you were creating a brand new map and you've never done it before, it has 4 directions on how to start creating your own map. So if you're ever confused about what you should be doing, it gives you these 4 simple directions right from the get-go. Choose an area that you're interested in. You can zoom and pan to it. You can find it in the address block here. You can put in its latitude and longitude. You can search for it a bunch of different ways. Decide what to show. Right here in base maps, you have 12 choices. 3, 6, 9. Oh, we have more than that. Oh my goodness, we have all kinds of this now that you're in developer mode. Anyways, you have multiple choices of what your background can look like. But I want to warn you that everyone usually goes for the imagery background. But if we zoom into our dots, okay, if we zoom into our dots and we choose the imagery background, sometimes your data gets lost in the background of a dot. So, in the background of an aerial. So really think about what it is the people need to know. If they need to know what the ground actually looks like for this dot, then use an aerial background. But my suggestion would be to try like 4 different backgrounds and find the one that actually works best for the information that you're working with. So for instance, in this background, you can see the roads, the towns, the state boundaries. It gives you a little bit more information than just an aerial background. So that's what I would suggest. And then this is where we add more data. So if we were, one of the benefits of having the developer account is that it gives you access to the living atlas that is created and curated by ESRI, the parent company of this all. So there's several ways that you can search for data. You can add it from a file that is currently on your desktop or that you can get to. If it's a shape file, it needs to be zipped up. And those of you that don't know what that means, that's okay. If it's a KMZ or a Google Earth file, it will import that, but it has to be, again, exported as a KMZ. So those of you that are familiar with Google Earth, you understand that. It can also be a CSV file, which is a very simple form of an Excel file. And if you have the data that you want in rows and columns, and you have a column for latitude and a column for longitude, and you put those latitude and longitude values in decimal degrees. So let me just explain about that. Decimal degrees, usually in the old days, in the pre-digital days, we had degrees, minutes, and seconds. And that's so that people could find it on a map that was labeled with degrees, minutes, and seconds. But digital degrees turns all of that information into one number, a decimal of the degrees, and it allows it to be used in Excel as a single number that can be read by programs like ArcGIS Online, and it can automatically put a dot where those digital degree coordinates are. You know that might sound a little confusing, but in the new age here, map makers desperately want their information in digital degrees. Okay. You can also create your own information with map notes, but let me just pull in something from the Living Atlas just to see how the process works. So it will bring up a ton of information, but luckily it's searchable because everybody that submits information puts in tags. That's why they're really important. So if we put in a tag for counties, it will come up with the counties of the United States. So let's just put that in because counties might be important information if these dots are related to a county-wide stuff. So we're going to add it to the map. And then it'll just take a second to load. And we X out of here. And we go back over here. And in our table of contents now, we have our Survey 123 data and we have our USA counties data. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we can still see our dots above our counties. So these three dots on the left-hand side, you click on them and you just drag one layer above another. And now we see that there's counties all over the United States. But if we were only interested in Maine, there's a way to ask the counties file to just show the information for Maine. And how we do that is we go down to, let's just discuss what all these buttons mean here. So this would actually show, well, this would be more easy. This would show a legend, our attribute table, which is all the records and all the information that was gathered. So this is the table behind the dots. If over here in counties, in Survey 123, we wanted to show the legend, let's X out of here. We wanted to show the legend of what our dots look like. It shows it right here, but it's not very interesting because all the dots are colored the same way. So we're going to get to that in a minute. In USA counties, you can also change the symbology, which we will try to do with our Survey 123 data in a minute. But this is what we wanted to look at. This is a filter that allows us to ask the USA counties layer to only show the counties in Maine. So right here is all the different columns of data that that layer has, and one of them is state. And so the question is, or the request is, state is, and we're just going to put in Maine. And when we apply this filter, it will now hopefully only show us the counties in Maine. And then the last thing that we can do to make this helpful is the 3 dots right here pull up a whole list of other items that you can do. And right here, let's see, show details, create labels. All you have to do is hit that button and it will label all of the counties in Maine. So these are easy ways that we can use our ground-based data and add more information to the map to make it more useful. So the last thing I want to show you in our GIS Online, and let's just have a, okay, so we've been talking for about half an hour. So the last thing, and when you're fine with it, you hit OK. The last thing I want to show you is in our survey 1, 2, 3, all our dots are colored the same. And so we know that information was put there. But if we wanted to know immediately from a look what the habitats were for each of these dots, we can color code the dots by their habitat type. So it's right now, it's show location only, nothing else about the dot. But if we say to show location based on what habitat are you in, that was the question that we asked. If we wanted to do that, it will automatically color your dots according to what habitat they were in. And if you're happy with that, you say done. And then when you go to ask for the legend, it now shows you the legend. So that's another way that we can symbolize the ground data that we put in and immediately be able to tell the end user anything about any of the questions that we asked. So this is about what habitat it was in, but if you wanted to color code it by the ratings, that would be fine too. So there's lots of ways that you can change the map. Well, you can also have the legend right in the map view by hitting, oh, this legend, no, I guess not, that doesn't bring it up. Okay, okay, let's go back to our slides and see where we are. Okay, we are gonna take, actually, let me just take some questions now before we do the break. So are there any heartburn questions that we can answer right now?
Yeah, Sue, let me look at what's in the Q&A. I see that a couple of people have submitted questions. We answered a few of them, and thanks to the folks that have been doing a little thumbs up or upvoting the questions they want answered. So, and this might be coming in the next section, Sue, but the kind of top ranked question right now is from Nancy, and it says, I understand that survey 1, 2, 3 is for creating new data. What if you have existing GIS data you want to work with to display in the story map?
That's an excellent question. And so what you would want to do, there's several ways to bring it in. If you have an ArcGIS system and you've already created the data in a desktop map or ArcGIS Pro, you would export it as a shapefile. And then in your map, let's see, wait a minute. In your map, you would go to add, and you would add it from a file and actually import the entire shapefile. If you don't have ArcGIS capabilities and you wanted to bring in pre-existing data, you could create an Excel spreadsheet, and there's a couple of rules that you have to follow. The data that you're creating can't have more than 1,000 records. So that's, if you wanted to import a tax map of a town, usually towns have more than 1,000 records. And so you would want to break that map up into smaller chunks of 1,000 records at a time. But if you're creating your own layer in Excel, all you would have to do is create the columns of the information that you wanted to share, but make sure that the columns don't have any spaces in their names. And if you need to separate some words, use an underscore. Other than underscores, no special characters. That is a common rule throughout all of these products. And then you would want to make sure that you had the latitude and the longitude of the information in decimal degrees, and just make that column very simple, latitude, longitude. One thing you would want to do is make those two columns text columns so that they don't drop any zeros. And if you have, you can actually have a street address, a town, a state, and a zip code. If you have that information as addresses, those 4 columns, you can import addresses as well, and it will drop the dots on the address. I think you can also, if you have a GPS unit, a handheld GPS unit, you can go out and get your information, your geographic information, and you can export the information from your GPS handheld unit into a GPX file, .gpx, and you can also import those into an ArcGIS online map. So there's lots of ways to get data in, and if you ever have trouble trying to get data in, you can always email me and I can help you with that. Okay.
Great, thanks, Sue. Would you like another question? I think
Sure.
this will be a little bit shorter. So this one's from Ben, and he's asking if you can edit the symbology of the data imported from survey 123 to the My Map.
If you can import the data to my map.
No, can you edit the symbology? So can you change that symbol?
Sure. So we were just doing that actually. I forget which one of these is my map. Okay. So we changed the symbology of our.
Can I just one more thing, Sue? I had some comments as well that when you're doing this, it's very small on our screen, like where your mouse is. So instead of saying like click here, could you zoom out what you're clicking on?
Let me try. Oh, look at, I was zoomed out for some reason.
Oh, yeah,
how's that?
That's much better.
Good job. Make sure you stop me anytime when we can't see things. Yeah, that's 100%. I can even see that. That's good. What happens is when you're working with anything online, sometimes the part that says go is below the screen and you can't see it. So then I have to minimize my screen to be able to see it. That must have been what happened. Sorry about that. That's a good catch. Okay, so do you think this was answered about how to change the symbology in our GIS online map?
So that changed the color.
Oh, the actual symbols?
I think that's.
Yes, so this little graphics box right here will pull up right here where it says unique symbols. Instead of dots, you can have, wait, no, that's not it. That's not it. Change style. Oh, where is the symbology thing? Unique symbols. Right here. It gives you all kinds of shapes to use as your point. So you can change their size. If they're too small to see when you zoom out or zoom in, you can change their size. You can use an image. We have shapes, arrows, cartograph. I mean, they go overboard with symbology. Disasters, it'll show, I mean, pick any of these and you can use any of these as your symbol. That's a great question. Thanks for that.
That's great. Can you just, can you talk through once again how you got to that symbol?
Yeah, okay, so let's see. We're here and we chose the attribute to show as our habitats. And then when we scroll down, it says unique symbols options. And that gave us the chance to color the symbols. But if you click on the symbol itself, you come up with the color of it, the outline of it, but also the shape.
Great, thanks.
And then that you can do all kinds of things. You saw how many we could do. But this is a really important one, the symbol size, because sometimes the symbols, like from GPX files, come in as these little tiny dots. You can't even see them. And so you can just drag this, or if you know of a particular symbol size that you want, you can just put it in. So if we do this, now we've got some symbols we can see. We could see these on the other map if I know that. But anyways, there is a way to change the darn symbol over all of them, but for the life of me, I can't remember at the moment how to do it. Okay. Oops. Oh, now we have one big develop looking bad, so we gotta fix that. Okay, so this is an example of why I can't see the actual thing that says okay, which is why we saw a small map before. All right, but let me put that back so that we can see everything else. Oh, now look. All right. What else can we answer?
All right, so the next top question is from Mark, and he asks, for location data, can you change the coordinate system, for example, UTM instead of lat long?
Right, so the ArcGIS online product uses lat long, but you can always export your data and it will show up in, when you create a map, there's this home button, and you can go to your contents, which is the folder that stores everything that you do. So if I go to my contents here, it will show all kinds of things. And it tells you whether it's a web map, a story map, or a feature layer. These feature layers you can export. Let me see if we click on this, it comes up with the, what do you want to do with it page? Yep. And so you can export this data as a shapefile, a CSV, or a KML, and you can bring it as a shapefile into your ArcGIS program and convert it to whatever system that you need, UTM, state plane, any of those other ones. Okay.
All right.
While we're here, let me just look at, let me just go back one. So it lists everything that I've done here. This is a story map we're going to be looking at after the break. But this is where, when you click on it, this is where you can decide what to do with it. So you can configure this. Well, that just means edit it. But this is where you would share it. Down here, it says who owns it. It's got, you can edit the tags. If we share it with the public, save, it will give you the link somewhere. Okay. Well, it makes it shareable. I think you would just get people the link after that. And this is where you would say it's private, it's within a group, or shared with the public. Okay. Anything else?
I think what you covered actually just answered a question from Dita, which was, can only paying Esri subscribers access the data that was collected? So I think what you just showed there is you can share that data out with whoever you want.
Out. Yes. Yep. The reason that I was so excited about the developer account was that all of this power to do so much more than the public account really costs a lot of money for an enterprise level account. And because the reserve system is part of NOAA, we have access to that enterprise account. But we have trouble getting information that we produce in it out to the public. And it's really expensive for smaller organizations to have an enterprise account. So this is the way to actually sort of level the playing field and make these things available to a much broader range of people. I do want to suggest one thing to you, especially if you're using interns. What we did with Hope Cemetery is we created we turned Hope Cemetery into a virtual person, and we created a Gmail account for it, a Yahoo account for it so we could store photos, and a developer account for it so that we could create a project-based series of products. When the intern that's currently working on it for us leaves, the next intern logs in as Hope Cemetery and carries on the project. So if you have volunteers helping you out in your organization and you don't want the project to walk away with them, all of the ability to edit it, create the project as its own entity and get it its own account, and then everything stays with your organization. Okay. What do you think? Are you ready for a break?
Is this where you're going to have folks do the activity and then take a look?
Yes. So here is the new survey. So what we're going to do is remember those, let's see, nope. Okay, right here, design. Remember all of these things here? So we're going to ask you to create a very easy survey with a date time tool, a map tool, a multiple choice. And when you go to create the multiple choice, you're going to name it trails. Make up 3 trail names, a second multiple choice, and you're going to name it trail item, and make up, put in signs and bridges or whatever you would like to do. And then ask the ground surveyor to create an image. And then save it, share it with yourself, and go outside. Now, 10 minutes is not a very long time for that. But even if you just created it and you didn't share it and go outside, or if you really desperately need a bathroom break, go ahead and do that. And this is all going to be available on that PDF, so you can just pick it up from there. How's that sound? Should I stop sharing or just leave this? I should leave this up, I guess.
I would say, yeah, if you want to leave that up,
Yeah.
and we'll just ask people to use this is for the survey 123. They should go into that and create a new survey.
Go in with their developer account and create a new survey and just give this a try. If that's what they want to do. And 10 minutes, well, I can't look at that clock because it doesn't work, but 10 minutes will take us to 2 o'clock. That would be perfect.
Yeah. And so I just want to make sure I see in the chat from James, he's saying web designer or survey 123. So survey 123 is where they go to with their.
Yes. So wait a minute here. We have 2 choices when we create a new survey. I have not investigated this. I'm a new user myself, but I've not investigated this. But this use the web designer is this page right here with all of the question possibilities.
Great. And James says that answers his question.
Yeah, excellent.
Where to get to. So
okay, so let me put it back on our.
Take a little break.
Okay.
We will come back at 2. And Sue, do you want to hang around? Or are you going to step away for a second?
I think I'm going to step away for a second. Do I just take my camera off?
Yeah, if you do that, I'll cancel your spotlight and all.
Okay. And I'll mute myself too.
All right. So at 2 o'clock, we will come back. If you guys have questions in the meantime, put them into the chat. I'll hang around. I might not be able to help, but I'll at least acknowledge your questions. Maybe Annie can help too. She knows a little bit more than me.
Yeah, I can see the appeal to just answering everybody's questions while the presenter's speaking, but it's good to keep the questions up so that everyone can see them.
Yeah, and the attendees can still see the questions that have been answered. So there are a couple that I just typed the answer into because like one question was about, will we share the presentation? So went ahead and just typed in an answer to that. But yeah, I think we'll probably have some more time to get to more questions.
All right, I'm gonna step away.
All right. Let's see, I see a couple of questions about how to get to survey 1, 2, 3. I'll pull up, put from the pre-webinar task, I've got a link. Put this into the chat. So that's the link to get to survey 1, 2, 3, and that's where you needed to have that developer account to log in. And I'll also post the link to the pre-webinar tasks, which has kind of all the instructions in one place that says go here to get your developer's account, and then has, I think, link number, let's see, use the activity to use, I think it's number 4 then, that's the survey 1, 2, 3. And from, okay. Susan says, my sample survey link is not working. Oh. Let me see if it works for me. I see in the Q&A a couple of people are having issues just getting in to do the little task here to create that new survey.
Yeah, when I hit your link, Jessica, it sent me right to the right site and worked for me. So I'm not sure.
The one that begins with esri.com.
Right. Yeah, I just had to log in, and then it was like create a new survey.
So if you go to that link, that's the esri.com, and then a whole bunch of stuff after that. That should take you to the survey 1, 2, 3, and then you've got to sign in. And I'm trying to look through these questions to see where people might be confused after that. Oh, and I see Taria said she had to delete her cookies catch before it would work.
Okay, and then
Here, just clear some of this up so we can see. And I see that Martin has his hand raised. I'm going to go ahead and Martin, allow you to talk and see if you can help us or we can help you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, Martin, yeah.
Hey, how you doing? Well, I'm having fun to try to find out the web designer option. You know, when I log in, even though I can log in, it says on my surveys that it looks like you don't have any survey on your device. So I wonder, but that's it.
You should see above it says create survey with a big plus arrow.
I don't see it on my.
Are you in the Survey 123 website? If you go to Survey 123
Okay.
and you're already logged in anywhere, or it says sign in, you log in and it will say create a survey.
So I have two different apps on my computer for Survey 123. One is to collect the data, I guess, where you browse the map that you created, and the other one is for Survey Connect. So
Right, use the Survey Connect, use the web browser if it gives you two choices. Use the web browser, the left-hand side one. Let me see if I can put that back up.
right, when I hit my Survey Connect, all I got is just a screen with a plus of the new survey.
Yeah, I don't. Let me pull something up for you.
Let me just go the other way around.
Survey 123. So here's our survey123.arcgis.com. And when we hit this, it will come up with, all right, so I'm already logged in, but you would just log in and you would say, create a new survey. And then it will give you, okay, you have to put in a name. I have lots of tests. We have lots of test tags. You don't need a summary. And you go to create it. Goodness, that's taken a long time. Oh, it automatically took me here. Maybe that's because I was signed in. Okay. I don't want to sign out because that will be a bad thing for the rest of the thing here. But he can't share his screen, right?
No.
No, I got it. I just log in, but now something happened. But I see the create new survey. So
yeah. Okay,
I'm
that's
create new survey, and bam, I got it. So all right. So let me write down.
Excellent.
Okay.
Great. Glad you figured that out. And I see, all right, Martin, I'm going to go ahead and move you back over to the attendee side. Glad we could get that working.
Thank you very much.
Okay, what time are we at? Let's see. Oh, we're there.
Too. And I see, like Mary Helen said that she was able to make her first survey, so maybe some of it is
Excellent.
working.
What's really puzzling is why lots of people were able to get their developer account and not have any issues, where some people had issues just getting the developer account. So in the PDF, I put a new link that hopefully, I don't know what was wrong with the other link, or maybe it got broken along the way after people already had it. Kristen Grant actually said all of the developer accounts were being given to COVID-19 workers. I don't know what was all up with that, but I just tried creating another account using a different email yesterday, and it seemed to go through just fine. So if people are still having trouble, at the end of, later, feel free to contact me. I'm willing to help anybody out at the end of this, get up and running, because really it's a fine suite of tools. Are we back on?
Yeah, and I see some conversation in the chat about different ways to get to the developer account.
Okay, great. Yeah, helping each other out is always the best way. Are we recording as well?
Yeah, we just recorded
Okay.
through the break. We can edit that later.
All right, so
okay.
Now comes the major reason that a lot of you signed up for this, and it's how to create a good story map. So I do not think I have this up. Nope. Okay, we'll just go to it again. Esri actually created a story map on how to create a good story map. That's great. So there's 9 steps to creating a good story map. And remember when we said that all storytelling deals with behavior change? We want to change their behavior to do something, whatever it is. And the major thing that you have to remember when you create a story map is you don't want to make anyone work hard to get the information. So we have these 9 steps that help streamline your process and give you best management practices on how to create a good story. When I looked at this a couple weeks ago, I looked at some of my story maps and said, oh, that really should be changed. And now I have more tools to be able to do that. So here we go. How to make a good story map sing. So I'm just gonna zip through these a little fast, because then I created a story map on how to create a good story map. And it brings all of these things into it, but I'll give you an example of how these things would look. So the first thing is to start with a bang. You want a good title. For instance, the title of this workshop was something about using ArcGIS Online to make story maps. That's not a very good bang. I renamed it actually GIS for dynamic storytelling. That had a little bit more of a bang to it. So in this instance, Stewards of the Night, that's a big bang. It's got a nice interactive background here, sharing the dark skies narrative. So that's an example of starting with a bang. Again, starting with a bang in search of refuge, and then the particulars about what it is that they're doing. Number 2, add a hero. And so it's always about a hero's story. Something needs fixing, somebody's having a bad adventure, how can we help, things like that. But remember that the hero doesn't always have to be people. It can be something as small as a semi-palmated sandpiper as well, or microscopic things, but it's a hero's journey that we're basically telling. So make sure you have a good hero. Number 3, give your story some rhythm. So we want to sort of have some stories, it's like a song almost. You give them some information, you have the part that people sing over and over, and then you give them some more information and you sing the refrain. So that's an example of how to give a story a rhythm. You want to make sure that everything flows well with it. I don't know what this is exactly. Okay, number 4, create a little world. So when you're using Google Earth, for example, it's a big world, and you zoom in and it becomes a little world, and then you zoom back out and it's a big world again. That's sort of what they're talking about here. So sometimes you want to give them an overview map like we just saw here, and then zoom in and talk more about local issues, or start with local issues and then take them to larger issues. So that's what they mean by create a little world that you can zoom in and zoom out of information-wise. You can also change any of the background colors. There's lots you can do, and we'll get into that in a minute. One size doesn't fit all. So when you go to create a story map and you go to preview it, it will show you what that story map looks like on a screen, a tablet, and a phone. So it reformats your story map depending on the device that the person is using. That is huge. So you want to make sure that you check it out on all of these devices so that you'll understand how the final user experience is. Number 6, think big and think small. So again, this sort of deals with, is it a local story that has larger repercussions, or is it a big story that's affecting local information? So think big, think small. So we'll show an example of that too. Number 7, use active and passive maps. So in the Hope Cemetery, let me just scroll to the top here. We had this passive map. It doesn't do anything. It just tells people some general information. And then we had some active maps that they could actually scroll around, click on things, get more information. Oh, shoot, now we lost it. Oh, goodness. Okay. Number 8, keep it short and sweet. I don't know what the public attention span is anymore, but it's shrinking by the day, it seems. But there's still room to tell the story. If, for example, in this one, there's 90 separate frames in this story map, you have to be a really good storyteller to hold people's attention for 90-page scroll downs. That is an impressive feat. But it could be that you have a land trust map that has a page for each of your projects, and all they have to do is click on the map, on the point, and they come up with the page in your story map that talks about that particular project. So that's one way that you can have a large map like this and still keep their attention. And then the last one is make a call to action. So if you get to the end of your story and the people don't have something to do next, it sort of falls flat. You want them to visit your website. You want them to contribute to your fundraiser. You want them to go save some pollywogs that are drying up in a pond, something like that. You really should end with a call to action. So, okay, we are going to find the story map that I made right here. So this is my gallery. It's the only story map that I have in this particular user account. So we're going to click on it, and it's going to be in draft mode. So that means that we can edit anything in it. And so I've somewheres in the text of each of these frames, I've put what number, what piece, what element of the 9 steps that this relates to. So when we say, so I started out GIS for dynamic storytelling. That sounds a lot more active, and then the subtitle is just start with a bang. So that's what we're trying to do here. I want to talk to you about, before you even get to your story map, it's helpful and very good best management practice to have just a Word document or any kind of document, even a text document, that sort of has an outline of what you'd like to say in your story map. And it says, so this would be the slide one, like the opening page. Begin with a bang. Have a subtitle. And then you can, in any of these, you can put a photograph, a video, a map, I forget what the other one is, but have those all gathered up in a folder somewhere so that you're not searching all over your computer to try to find the photo that goes with the slide. And when we talk about photographs, I'm not saying that you need to use those or you should use these, but it's all about the story and not necessarily about how good of a photograph you can take. If you have your own photographs, like the reserves have lots of photographs to choose from. But if you're really struggling for a photograph that will pinpoint the story, you can go to several of these websites that a couple of the popular ones are called Pixabay and Pexels. And there's links to them right here. So if we go to Pixabay, which I did right here, and I put in piping plover, and maybe I don't have the best photograph of a piping plover, you come up with this page, and this is a sponsored iStock banner here. But when you go down, these, and this looks more like a ruddy turnstone, but or a golden plover. But anyways, here's 3 photographs of piping plovers that you can download and use for free. So if you don't have a really good one, and once you download them, you can zoom into them, you can crop them, recolor them, whatever it is you need to do. These are royalty-free sites. So if we go back to our GIS for dynamic storytelling, this is what's called the landing page. When you create your story map, everyone's going to come to this page, and this is what it looked like. You can delete it and start over, or you can look at its properties. And so it shows you what the photograph is going to look like in 3 devices, your beginning photograph. And then you can put in, for this image in particular, you can put in alternate text for, that's a good practice actually for any photograph that you put in, you should have some alternate text. So that has to do with the image property. And if you wanted to change, if it fills your screen and you're not happy with the way that it fills your screen, you can change the focus point. And see here, like it changed it on the phone one. So if it's not fitting well on the phone, you can change the focus point for it. All right, so if we save that, that's the property for this image back here. And you can, it always comes up with this title text and subtext thing. And it comes up with your name so that it tells people right away. And right now it tells you that it's in draft mode. And then it has this little persistent arrow over here to tell the user you're supposed to scroll down. So we scroll down, and now the minute we scroll down, we come into a new frame. And there's different types of frames. And let me just show you this. This is a slideshow frame. And so it's a little different because it asks you to hit the next slideshow to the right. So you can have all of your story map with the slideshow frame, or you can mix and match your frames. So again, we talked about this is right from Pixel. And we can say, I just wanted to say this was the add a hero part of it. And so I just use this as an example. Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. And this is a sample slideshow. Oh, they're called blocks. Slideshow block. And it tells you how many slides you have in this slideshow block. So when we go to the left, so here's our story. Hero comes in all shapes and sizes. Heroes can be both young and both old, real or imagined. So that's one block that breaks the story up into 3 little chunks, and each chunk can say something different. When you're done with your slideshow, you can go back to the beginning, or you can scroll down from any of the slides. So I know that we're going quickly, and keep looking at that clock. Okay, so we have lots of time though. So once I get through this story map, we're gonna have lots of time to figure things out. So we scroll down again, and it says, give your story some rhythm. When it says give your story some rhythm, it's saying keep similar elements throughout your story, and that will help you tie it together. So for instance, these photographs are pretty similar in that one of them is not a extremely bright, colorful, graphically dynamic one. They're both sort of muted colors and, you know, tell simple things. So this in particular, what did they call it again? Anyways, this in particular frame is called a sidecar. And what it does is it has one media, either video or map or a photograph, and the text scrolls through it. So that, and if you wanted to add text, you just click another plus over here, and you will come up with all of these text options. A paragraph, a bulleted list, all these things for text. And you can add a graphics like a button or a separator. And you can change this image to an image, a video, a map, to have audio with it. And I don't know what that means. Oh, I think you can embed a website within the story map. I think that's what the embed means. So we have given our story map a rhythm by having similar type styles throughout it. And then create a little world. Oh, this is what they meant by create a little world. Tie it all together with color and consistency. So this is not an interactive block. This is a plain block area. All it has is some words and a photograph. That's it. So it doesn't scroll text up the side. It doesn't have slides to the side. It's just a basic page. You can have your entire story map as this basic page and people will just scroll through, or you can mix it up like we've done in this one. At any time during your story map, you can preview it. And you hit this preview button, and it will bring it up in whatever thing that you're looking at it in. It will bring it up and it will show you exactly how it will look without any of the edit tools in it. So then we scroll down, our text scrolls up, we scroll down, not too much happens here, and then we go to the next one. So when you want to go back to editing your story, you just hit this edit button. Okay, now we're back in edit mode. You can see right here it says draft. So if we go down to our next block, okay, one size doesn't fit all. This block particularly talks about how to preview your story map in all the 3 ways that it can be formatted. Make sure the content is readable in each of the different styles. So this was a sidecar. It had three slides, and you can set the transitions between each of the slides. If you want to have more information, you just hit this information thing, and it will pull up what is a sidecar and how to use it. And then we'll skip this right now. Okay. This button is if you wanted to add a new slide, a fourth slide to this sidecar thing. All right. This is the think big, think small. This is giving someone an overview of your story and then taking them into your project and giving them a more zoomed in part of your story. This is right from the Hope Cemetery page. And then use passive maps and active maps. This next block is empty because I wanted to demonstrate how to bring in your Survey 123 map. So here we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you create a brand new block. And so we're going to add an active map. So we hit map, and it's going to go to your account and pull up the maps that you have. Okay, so here's all the maps that I've made with this particular account. And the MLT and training map is what we're going to bring in. So we just click on it, and it says, here's your map. So here's our map with our colored dots by habitat. And it says, you can edit the map if you don't like the way the map looks. You can edit it inside your creating a story map interface. So it takes you to the map. You can change your imagery, you can change your background, you can change your symbology. You can do anything that you do in your regular ArcGIS online map here. And then you would save it. And then when you save it, those changes will show up in your story map immediately. So we go back here. We didn't change anything, but you can also, let's see, you can also create bookmarks that your end user can use. So when they go to their ArcGIS store, when they go to their online story map, where is it? Right here? Yeah. They could go to bookmarks and pull down the name of a reserve or the name of a project or something, and it would zoom them right to it. So there's an amazing suite of tools here. And then let's see what this says. Okay. So you can make this a static map by just taking off the ability to navigate. You can click that off and it just, whatever you see is what you get. You can allow them to search. So using their search tool over here, so they want to find something that's close to them. And you can zoom to a current location. So however you leave your map, they would zoom to that. And you can click on the legend that they can click on, just over mouse and the legend will come up, or you can click it off if you think it's going to be too distracting. So there's the legend button. There's the home. I hate to hit the home button because in Survey 123, whenever you hit home, it takes you to the entire world. So, but they can zoom in, zoom out. They can scroll in, scroll out. Everything works. So we're going to keep that all like it's supposed to. And let's see, I think, okay. Place the map. So here we are. We have our active map. It zoomed out quite a bit actually, but that's okay. And if they want to, the end user can make this a full screen map. And look at their legend and zoom and hit home. And if it had, and if they brought it back, if it had any bookmarks, there would be a little bookmark button here that they would pull down and be able to zoom to the bookmarks. Let's stop here for a second and see if there's any questions, because this is where everything comes together. Our ground survey, our ArcGIS online map, and our story map. So we have quite a bit of time. So let's just stop here and see what people are having a hard time with.
Yeah, Sue. So I'm looking through, there's still a few more specific questions from the material covered earlier, but for this story map piece, I see one that came in from Kelly.
Yeah.
That's asking, to insert an active map in your story map, does the survey or wherever you're getting your data have to be published via your developer or enterprise account? For example, if
That
you
is,
have data on your organization's server, would that have to first be published online to use it in an active map?
I have not had very much luck with an enterprise account publishing things, only because our organization is so large that they have a protocol that you have to go through, which is reasonable to publish it. I've only ever used the developer account for public programs like this, and I always make the map public so that I can just put it in. So I don't know the answer to how to get it through an enterprise account, but every organization will have to figure out their own protocol for publishing the data. So at some point you would want to QC the data to make sure it's accurate, especially if there's any sensitive information in that at all, or, you know, individually identifiable information. You want to make sure that that's, and you want to make sure that the data is accurate as well. So does that answer that question?
I think so. So you do have to publish the data in order to use it.
You do,
Okay.
yes.
I think that should answer her question. And then there's another question kind of about making things public. From Travis, he says, when sharing a survey and selecting everyone public, does this share the survey in the public sector for anyone in the world to take the survey, or does the survey itself have to be shared specifically with people?
Right. So when you make it public, they still need the URL, they still need the link to get it into their app. So that link you have to send to people. They can't just as far as I know, they can't just automatically find that link. Okay. You're talking about like an iNaturalist or something like that, where anybody can join, anybody can post. I don't think this is that open, but again, I've only been using it for just a couple of projects, and that would be something to investigate before you put it all out there. Again, especially if it's sensitive information type of stuff.
Okay. And then there's two questions that maybe kind of fit together. One's from Allison and one's from Emma. And they're asking about embedding story maps. So they're saying, can you embed one story map inside another? And can you embed a story map into another website?
You can embed story maps into websites, and you can embed websites into story maps. But I personally have never tried to embed a story map inside a story map, because that's way too much interaction for one story, in my opinion anyways. But if you had, I can't even think of a situation that would be a good idea, because that's a lot of interaction. I do not know the answer to that question. Maybe somebody else that's on does.
But you're thinking you wouldn't recommend it even if you can.
I can't think of a situation where that would be a good idea, but I you know, people out there have grander imaginations than mine, and maybe there's one that fits absolutely perfectly. But logistically, you would have to embed the code of the story map inside of another story map. And I'm not quite sure how that works exactly.
Okay. And then Dita asked, how many devices can access the virtual entity to input data to the survey?
So you're asking how many ground truth people you can have on the ground using this? I do not know of a limit as of yet. So they've been using this all over the place, particularly for emergency management post-disaster surveys. They have tons of people out with these, looking at rating house destruction and passability of roads, and this actually was pretty much developed with emergency management in mind, and we're just adapting it to all the other ways that this could possibly be used.
Okay, so no limit that you're aware
I'm
of
aware of.
for people to input
Although,
data.
let me think about that. No, because okay, so here's something else you need to know about the developer account is some things they offer developers for free, and some things you buy with credits. So in ArcGIS Online, let me find that, there's this analysis tool right here that is not available on the public account. And when you hit this analysis tool, it gives you tons of options. And this is stuff that we do in ArcGIS Desktop that is, it's high level stuff. For instance, joining feature, aggregating points. Really, I don't even know how to use all these tools. We have data enrichment, we have managing data, dissolving boundaries. I think this is just about everything that I know how to use on ArcGIS. But these type of tools cost you credits. And if I go home, will it tell me? They give you so many credits a month. Oh no, that's not it. Maybe in my, there's a, let me see. Home, gallery, scene, groups, content, organization. Maybe it's organization? Yes. So it gives you so many credits and you can buy more credits. But right now, I don't know how much those tools take for credits, but I have 47 credits because I haven't tried any of those tools out yet. So that's one thing that advanced developer use will cost you credits. And I'm not quite sure. I imagine there's like a monthly subscription to get more credits, or you can buy them in bulk or something like that. I'm not quite sure how that works. But, so it doesn't tell you what you need the credits for either. That's beyond my level of training at the moment. How do we get talking about that? I forget now.
Well, that is actually, I think, getting at another question that was from John Lepore, who was asking if there would be a discussion on low cost or no cost options with these products. And I think you're addressing some of that, but I mean, so far, Sue, what you've shown us all should be no cost, right?
It is no cost. At the moment, it is, all three of these are no cost because of that developer license. And the story map is no cost, and the ArcGIS is no cost regardless if you have a public account or, if you have a public account, you can do everything except Survey 123 and those analysis tools in the story map. So I seem to have lost my story map, but let me just, oh, right here. Nope. Shoot. Okay. Okay. Whoops. Where is the, sorry about that. I took a left turn and now we're somewhere else. Let's see. Oh, this is my story map. Okay. Okay. So we added an active map and we showed an example of a static map. This is just a screenshot. But if I had actually just turned off the interactive capabilities of this map, instead of a screenshot, I could have just added this map and it would have just been static. All right. right, we have a couple more boxes here. Keep it short and sweet. This is what we talked about, this organization with 90 different frames. So if you scroll through this naturally, it would be a short and sweet. It has 9 sections, I think. All right, so this is my call to action. Storytelling is all about changing behavior. Okay, now you're going to notice that the information scrolls through here, but the map background doesn't change. So this is, instead of having this thing that each slide changes, all I did here was have the same background in 3 static places. I know that's confusing. I shouldn't have done that. Never mind. Don't disregard all that. Okay, storytelling is all about changing behavior. Give the end user a path to follow, end with a call to action. That's what we're talking about. Now it's your turn. So I'm going to go back to the slides and we're going to talk about a couple of different things. Okay, gathering your resources, royalty-free images. We used to have a lot of different templates and they're still available. And let me just take you to this page. I created all kinds of different story maps using this page. Why isn't this rolling? Let's reload it. Oh. Okay. It used to be that you got to choose one design for your story map, and that was the design that you had. So we had these map tours where you had points here and you just click through the photos and it was like a a journal tour or something like that. They incorporated this into the what was the name of that first one we did with the piping plover? The slideshow. They created that, they inputted that same capability into the slideshow. And the next one, rich multimedia narrative. So you would have to change a frame here and your information would scroll up. So they inputted it into this new story map and it has that capability. Cascade, same thing. You can have things cascade past your map or past your whatever you have there. So they built that in as well. Series of map and other content. This is the same thing. Although I don't think we can have tabs on this one. Although each of those blocks is sort of like a tab, but I don't think they've incorporated this part into it. Same thing, you can have a map and then have the photographs show up, but again, I don't think it has the tabs. They've even incorporated the swipe tool. You can load 2 different maps. I don't have an example of that here, but let me get back over here. GIS for dynamic storytelling. So if I added a new section here down at the bottom, continue your story, I add a new section. You've got so here we did a slideshow, we did a sidecar, we did a guided tour, which were 2 of those other templates, and you can do a swipe map. And a swipe map, let's see if that gives you an example. Oh, no, that didn't work. Oh, is you have one map over here and you have one map over here. So this could be a historic map or some sort of change detection, pre-disaster, post-disaster. You could have one map here and one map here, and you can slide and the maps will change what you see underneath. So if you had a historic map, you would see the historic data here and you would see your new data here. If you had a disaster, all the houses would be fine. All the houses would be distressed. So you can do that inside one of your panels. It's one of your choices. So that takes all of these older ones and puts all of the power into one single one. So instead of having the classic apps templates website, which they're all still supported, but last year they came out with new requirements for secure web access to things. And a lot of my story maps quit functioning because the information that I was bringing in was not from an HTTPS or secured site. So we had a little issue with that. So that's when they actually came out with this new story map template. So it takes you to a different website. Let me pull that up. And instead of the classic story maps, oh, it just pulls me into my stories. It takes us to the one that we've been working with here, which is the classic. And it gives you all of those different things. So let's do a time check. We have about 20 minutes, but I just want to show you the last slide because this is my call to action for my story. Storytelling is all about conveying information to change behavior. You all, I'm not quite sure how many of us are on here right now, but you all are tasked with passing on the skills that you're learning in this 2-hour lab with other in your organization. And when you do that, it's like the drop of water. It just goes out and goes out and goes out. And before you know it, you've changed the world in some way or fashion. So that's what I'm charting with. And that is the end of the presentation. And we have quite a bit of time to discuss anything that you'd like and to answer questions. Jessica, is there anything you want to say in general?
Well, I certainly learned a lot, so thank you, Sue.
And Annie, you can come on now too from the Wells Reserve and add your comments if you'd like also.
Just before we roll into like answering questions and getting to
Yeah.
some of these comments, because in case folks drop off, I'm going to put a link in the chat for the evaluation for the workshop.
Oh, definitely. That is so important to us.
Yes, so important to us to help make the workshop better when Sue does it in the future.
Yeah,
feedback,
absolutely.
and also it's
and
important.
I'll also review all the questions to see how we can incorporate the answers to those into the next training as well.
Yes, and having you guys fill out the evaluation also helps us to justify our funding. So please, please, please fill that out for us, and I'll send it in an email as well with some of the materials, the PDF that Sue was sharing, and a shameless plug for another workshop that we're doing that's more about the communication skills for storytelling, which I think might tie in nicely with some of these more computer-based skills that Sue was sharing.
Yeah. So I have to tell you the story about how this training even came about. So Jessica emailed and said, is anyone doing story map training? Because we have a lot of requests for it down here. And I had just taught Maine Land Trust Network interns this whole course. And so, we started talking about it, and she said, well, how many people, Chris Fort said, how many people do you think you could handle? I said, well, maybe about 20, but that's before we turned it into a webinar format. And then once we turned it into a webinar, we hit our 100 registration max in like no time at all. And so Jessica's organization had to up their subscription to handle. Jessica, how many people are on? Oh, just under 100. Oh, that's interesting. We had 182 registrations.
And I think we had about 120 people for like the first hour. I know some.
Okay, yeah. So this was such an opportunity to get this out to a whole bunch of folks. And you saw from the dots, it wasn't even just from Maine and Florida. There was Ohio and all other Pennsylvania. So we really appreciate you coming on and learning about this too.
Hopefully it'll be useful skills
Yeah.
for folks. Annie, did you have anything you wanted to add? before we
Oh,
look?
I just thought I like Victoria's question about ideas about sharing your story map afterwards and
Oh,
people to
interesting.
access it.
That would be nice if we curated a bunch of links to other people's story maps. And their Survey 123 and ArcGIS Online, doesn't matter what it is. We would love to see what you do with this. If you send them to Jessica, she'll get it out to to Annie and I, and that would really be the icing on the cake to show how you've taken these skills and gone out and tried to change the world.
Yeah, and I know one thing that Rookery Bay Reserve does is we put story maps on our website. So that's one way that we've been able to share it out, and I'll Victoria or anybody else, if you're interested, just let me know and I can send you links to those. They're one of the more popular pages on our website, I think, looking at some of the ways that our barrier islands have changed over time or where sea turtles are nesting. It's just interesting to see those maps change.
And Jessica, did you use the traditional templates, or have you been using the new template?
You know, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at it. I don't create them. We have a GIS.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Jill
Yep.
Schmidt, our GIS specialist, makes
Sure.
them.
Yes. Yeah.
I definitely use them in my classes.
There you go.
Show them to people. They think it's really cool.
Like I said, I've been looking at my story maps now, and I'm like, ooh, I gotta change a few things. It needs to be more dynamic. But I did have a story map where I embedded a website, a YouTube video actually, and it's been working wonderfully. People, it's about soundscape ecology, and people, it's still working wonderfully. So that was a good. I should have put in an example of each of the ways you can embed a video or a graphic or an interactive map. And the website. So the Hope Cemetery one had an embedded website in it. You could click explore more and go right into their website. And then you just unclick it and you're back in your story map. But you didn't have to leave your story map webpage, because you never get the people back when that happens.
With that, Sue, is there a way to analyze who's looking at the story map?
I do not know that end of it. Let me think about this. So there's a story map posted somewheres. The story map, we would have to have a discussion with Scott Richardson about that, about the analytics of a story map. Or maybe we can research that after. If people want to start a little story map group and we can keep each other updated on what we find out, that would be pretty exciting.
And Sue, I see from Victoria that she was clarifying her question, that she was literally asking, how can you share these story maps besides putting them on a website? Like, can you put them in?
Yes, we embed them in emails and oh my goodness, all kinds of things. So when you go to publish your story map, I have so many things open here. So here's my story map, and right here, I think, preview, edit, full details. Oh, let's see. There's somewhere. Oh, I know where it is. Hold on. It's in my contents. I need to get back to just a. Gallery. Oh, contents right here. So it lists my story map in my contents. Here's my story map. And if you click on it, it brings you to the management page. So here it is. It says, do you want to open it? Do you want to configure it? And do you want to share it? And if we hit the share, we say, only I have access, only our organization. So if you're in an enterprise account, only your organization or everybody public, we say, okay, we don't have any groups to share it with, so they don't have that, but we say it's open to the public. And I think you can just go to your story map and right click on the URL, post it into an email, embed it in a, embedded in a PowerPoint with a little link to it, and it just opens it up. So in our PowerPoint here, I just embedded a link to this particular story map. It opened up. I just embedded a link to the ESRI story map. It opened it up. So I'm pretty sure that's all you have to do is get the URL and share it however you'd like.
Very cool.
And then Sue, we have several leftover questions that are kind of just like maybe specific detailed ones.
Yeah, here we have 10 minutes. If there's no more general questions, we can answer particular questions. But again, thank you for signing up for this, and make sure you pass it on.
No, I was just thinking maybe we could send out a document with the survey just to answer those.
Oh wait, let's see how many people. We still have 86 people on. Raise your hand if you'd like to tell us how you plan to use these tools. So if you just looked at this and said, oh man, I need to do that for this project, raise your hand and we'll unmute you and you can share with us how you think you would use these tools. That would be great.
So I see a couple of hands have gone up of people that want to share how they can use this. I'll just go with who's showing up first. Dita O'Boyle, I'm gonna unmute you, or you can unmute yourself now.
Hi, so this is actually really exciting. The story map is awesome as well, but we've been working on creating our education trawl program and SANE programs into kind of more data driven. So we've been looking into using 123 survey. And so this is just a really helpful overview since I'm mildly familiar with ArcGIS, but I hadn't actually played around with the survey before. So thank you so much. I have so many questions.
Okay, that is excellent.
Where are you at Rookery base?
What
so
organization
she might follow up.
Oh.
So she'll use it with students. Great. All right, let's, would you like to hear from somebody else, Sue?
Sure.
All right, I'll just keep going alphabetically. We've got David Thompson. I'm gonna allow you to unmute yourself if you'd like to share. And let's see, you should see a button pop up, David Thompson, if you want to unmute. And
there we go.
Oh, now we can hear you.
Yes, I'm interning out at a wildlife management area, and we're building an interpretive trail, and I'll be documenting every step of the way. So
excellent.
I'm looking very forward to using this as the tool to tell the story.
That is excellent. Very nice. I can see Land Trust using this for easement monitoring. You know, you have an infraction or something on the easement, take a picture of it, you add the data, you answer the questions. The person back at the office gets the map, finds color coded by how severe it is, knows exactly what they have to go do first, that kind of thing.
Thank you very much, Sue.
Yeah.
Thanks, David, for sharing with us. All right, and let's see, we've got Dana Truslow. I'm gonna give you permission to unmute yourself if you'd like to share.
Yes, hi. This was really helpful. I'm working on a project looking at innovative nutrient management in the Seacoast, New Hampshire area. And it's a pilot program, and I could see that this would be a great way to introduce this to homeowners and to planners.
Very nice. Yeah, Dana, if you have any issues with it, just let us know. We'll help you out.
Super, thank you.
Yeah. And Jessica, maybe we could answer a couple more questions too before we run out of time.
Okay, and I was gonna
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, Let's see what we can pull up here. So there's one from Hannah. If you make any changes on the ArcGIS Online to the map that has been added to your story map, does it automatically reflect these changes in the story map, or do you need to update it?
Is this from a survey 123 or just in general with a map?
If you make any changes on ArcGIS Online to the map,
Those will automatically be updated in your story map.
okay.
One thing you have to remember, if you back in the, oh shoot, I closed everything. Back when you go to the back end of your survey 123 and it shows you the map and you open it up in ArcGIS Online, you need to save that map. How does that work exactly? I think you need to save that map as a different name in order to put it in a story map. I don't know if you can have a story map that the survey will automatically update as the ground people are getting their data in. So
Okay.
that's one thing I need to investigate, because we're running into that problem with the Hope Cemetery. You know, how does that work exactly? I think from survey 123, you're only viewing your data in ArcGIS Online, and it isn't an actual ArcGIS Online map until you save it. But once you save it, I'm not quite sure that your new data will automatically be uploaded. So you want to finish up your project, I think, before you embed it in a story map.
Yeah, that seems to match up with what I see with like our sea turtle nest,
Yeah.
that they send out new maps when there's new
Yes.
data.
Yeah.
So, and that's all done on all
That would really be the cat's pajamas if you could do that live all the time. But I think I don't think they have that capability yet.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but I feel like, yeah. So maybe that's something to look into for the next webinar. And then there's one from Nancy Olmsted that I think is maybe.
Hi, Nancy.
Oh, do you know Nancy? It's maybe a good recommendation for the next workshop, that she says it'd be useful to see you start to build a story map from scratch, from zero, so that they could see how you start, where do you see the choices to do the sideshow block or the sidecar block, etc.
Okay, yep, we can definitely do that.
So I think that's something good to do when you do it again, and maybe record and share with somebody like Nancy that's interested in seeing that. And let's see, so it is just about 3 o'clock, and there's still several questions, but they all have the same, they just have one vote, so I'm just.
Yeah, so I am going to go through the questions after. We'll get those downloaded, and again, if you run into a major snag with anything, Jessica will make my email available and we'll help you out however we can. Okay.
Yeah,
Any last words from the rest of the panel? I really enjoyed doing this, though. I enjoyed, creating this presentation. I had too many tabs up because we were jumping all around, but I thought it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I think folks definitely learned something hopefully they can use, and I'm going to send out the email now with the follow-up information, and Sue's email. Sue, do you want your wellsner.org email?
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody should see that in their inbox, and it'll also have the link to the evaluation in case you don't have time to do that right now. You can come back and get that done, and we appreciate everybody's time today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Great. And Sue and Annie, if y'all will hang around, and Chris, if she's still here, I'm going to bring her up to a panelist, and then I'm going to close out the webinar for the rest of the attendees. So thank you guys for joining us, but we're going to go ahead and close it out. And
thanks, everyone.
Have a good rest of the day.